Hello, hello, and welcome, my friends, to the next video in the Create Better Content series, where I show you how to tap into your creativity so that you never run out of content ideas again. I'm Penny, and I'm going to be your guide through this unique creative content development process where I'm teaching you how to create more engaging content to post that will help you reach more qualified customers online. And if you want to learn more about creativity and how this can help you develop your content marketing plans, I would love to see you hit that button down below and subscribe to this channel. And there are links in the description box, and let me go through those with you as well. The first link you're going to see is for my book called I Just Did a Thing, where I go more into detail about the science about why tapping into your creativity helps you with your content creation. And I also actually in the book talk a little bit about making, not a little bit, a lot, a lot more about making big changes in your business. And the second link that you're going to see is your opportunity to subscribe to the Create Your Business program so that you can personally go through this process of developing remarkable content. When you actually experience the creative activities and you go through the interactive workbook pages. So for this video series, I'm going to continue doing this deep dive into the science of why I'm always talking about, do something creative. And I want to talk to you about what's happening within your brain and your body and how that's all connected to how you're building your business with your content marketing strategy. So today I want to focus on the creative activities themselves and why this is so important to the process. I'm going to share an activity for you to do to tap into your creativity. And then I'm going to build on the content tips from the last video, and I'm going to share with you some of my top tips to stay consistent with your content. All right, so let's start now. So the biggest thing that you need to know about the creative activities that I'm always talking about is what you think matters. And I mean that quite literally. When you learn how to think differently, you start to up-level what's going on within your body, which will lead you to make more impactful changes in your business. And the other important piece to use creativity as part of your content strategy is you don't need like a checklist of things to believe in. You don't need to do this and don't need to do that. You just need a plan in place to practice bringing more of the good creative energy into your body. So as you start to listen through this series of videos and work through your own personal plan of action, I want you to consider the following things that are so important with regards to this creative energy stuff. That's another scientific term, stuff. So the first thing I want you to think about is commit to paying attention to how your body feels. That's a really important piece of this. And this is something that I discovered as I started moving through this process myself, especially during that time of COVID and all these changes that I experienced in my own business. Because those good feelings of joy and excitement are your body's way of telling you that you're moving in the right direction. And when your body feels anxious or there's like a strong feeling someplace, for me, I get like a feeling in my stomach, and I don't want to say it's butterflies, it's more like contractions or something like that. There's like something that happens in my stomach. I just know at that moment that there's something going on. And at that moment when I'm feeling that strong feeling, it's time to take a step back and assess the choices of what we're making. It's the awareness that something's not right here, and your body is telling you this. And just know that you're going into this. Just having the awareness is always the first step, but it's also going to take time before your body gets accustomed to this new way of working through, tapping into your creativity. So be patient with yourself. And if you slide back into your old patterns and ways of thinking, that's okay. Just give yourself the grace to say, that's what happens. This is where my body is trained. And so we just have to keep moving forward. We have to keep being consistent and keep trying to make these changes. The other thing I want you to do is commit to having fun with the process. I mean, if it's not fun, why bother? Why should we do this? This whole process is not about to add like 10 more things for you to do every single week. It's not, you have to do this or you're never going to tap into your creativity. It's not that at all. It's about going into this with an open mind to these new ways of thinking and understanding that this is how our bodies are working and this is what's going to help us tap into our creativity and help us with our content marketing. And know that the consistent practice of making these changes is going to reinforce the shifts, and you're going to continue to see that as you continue to be consistent with this. And staying consistent, let me tell you, doesn't mean that you do the same thing at the same hour, the same minute of every day. It could mean that you're doing your steps always in the morning or right after you come home or when your child is doing their homework. It's being mindful in the present moment, and I mean each moment, to understand what's working for you. So the other thing I want you to keep in mind is commit to giving everything a try. I want you to suspend your judgment about a certain step or part of the process. That's what we call mindfulness in practice. I know sometimes you'll, read something or you'll hear me talk about something on one of these videos and you say, oh, that's not me. I can't do something like that. So before you take that negative mindset, I want you to try it out. Even if it's just a smaller version of the idea, before you decide that you can't add this into your daily routine, just try it. Sometimes when we take a couple of steps outside of our comfort box, we realize, it's not so bad out there. And I got to tell you, there is no better feeling than to accomplish something that we thought that we could never do. So I want you to keep in mind as I keep moving through this process of understanding about tapping into your creativity and how this helps with your content creation. And if you're the person that's sitting there looking at me or looking at the screen and going, I don't know what she's talking about. I am so not a creative person. I have no idea how I'm even going to get any of this done. I want you to know that I subscribe to the theory that we are all born creative. We just need to learn a path to help us bring the creative energy out of us and into our lives and into our business and also into our content strategy. And this creative energy that I'm talking about, it doesn't mean that you're painting or writing a book. Creative energy could mean cooking a new recipe or planting roses in a garden. It's more about being active with your body and paying attention and the awareness to the thoughts in your brain rather than sitting at your computer staring at a blank page or even worse, scrolling through Facebook. I mean, if this concept is new to you, if you've never heard me before and you've just stumbled upon this video for the first time, and I'm sure you're struggling to figure out how being creative is going to help you with your content creation, you're not really sure that you understand the idea behind spending time in your creative energy, and I get it. I totally get it, especially if you're new to this and you're new to my channel and you're new to me talking about this. And I know why you feel this way. It's because your brain hates the idea of thinking differently. All of us, we're predisposed to do the same thing over and over again. And we do this over and over again, whether it's working or not. And that's how we find ourselves doing the same thing over and over, and we tell ourselves that this time that something different will happen. And we continue to find ourselves staying in the same place every year. I mean, what is that expression? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's what this is about. I want you to stop doing the same thing over and over again. I want you to do something different, because I want you to have different results. And I get it. I get it. It's not your fault. Not a whole lot of people are talking about content creativity the way I do. Not a lot of people are looking at what's going on in our brain and going on in our body and how this has something to do with building our businesses and growing our presence online. I get it. I mean, you just haven't been shown another way to turn your content ideas into a way to reach more qualified customers so you can create a real income producing business. And I know that there is a ton of advice out there in blog posts and YouTube videos. I myself have lots and lots of YouTube videos that you can listen to talk about this. But a lot of them are not going to help you make a shift in your content strategy. Unfortunately, the information that's out there, sometimes it just doesn't go beyond the recommendations of you got to work harder, create a content calendar, just believe you can do it. I mean, that's their idea of the content creation process. It's kind of messed up. It kind of is. But today's a different day, and now you are listening to this. You are hearing my voice. You're hearing me talk about this, and you're hearing me give you the opportunity to set yourself free of all of these ideas and the same thing over and over and over again. And I want you to think about how you can navigate your content creation in a totally new way so that you can start seeing real change in your business. So how do we do this? So how do we tap into that good creative energy stuff, right? So let me share with you a creative activity. For today's video, I want you with this creative activity to reconnect with what we refer to as your inner child. I truly believe that one of the saddest things about being a grown-up is that we stop playing. We think we're adults now, and that means we need to be serious, and we need to have serious work, and we need to work harder, and we need to work serious work. So for this creative activity, I want you to reconnect with your inner child. This isn't going to cost you any money. It's just going to cost you some of your valuable time. This is really important. So what I want you to do is I want you to listen to this part of it. I want you to put yourself into a place and go get, paper, pencil, whatever, pull up a Word document or something like that, because I've got some questions and some things I want you to work through. So I want you to reconnect with your inner child. And to do this, let's revisit a favorite toy from your past. I want you to think about that toy. I want you to imagine that toy. Where did that toy sit in your room? Is it something that you had on your bed? Is it something that you slept with? Is it something that you carried with you anytime you got into the car? Think about this toy, because doing this type of inner work actually does help you tap into your creativity and opens you up to more joy and passion, because we remember what it felt like with our favorite toy from the past. And I understand that the older we get, the more we disconnect from this inner child. But I want you to know that subconscious emotional part of us that gets pushed down from all the adult stress in our lives, it's still there. That inner child is still inside of us. And though you may feel this disconnect because you're a serious adult doing serious things and I'm working, just know your inner child is still there, influencing your emotions and decisions, no matter how old you are. So with this creative exercise, let's tap into that creativity. Let's tap into those feelings of joy. And think about one of your favorite toys from your childhood. Now here's where I want you to start doing some work. I want you to ask yourself these questions. First one, how would you describe your favorite toy? Use as many adjectives as you can, using all of your senses. It felt like this, it smelled like this, it tasted like this, because sometimes I would lick it or whatever it is that you were doing. It sounded like this. Think about your senses, and not just, if we're talking about a teddy bear, not just that it was brown and his name was, Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, or whatever it is. What was Winnie the Pooh wearing? What's his eyes look like? What's his little paws look like? Did he have a hat on? Did he have a little shirt on or something like that? Think about how he felt. What did his fur feel like? And what did his fur feel like when you had it for years and it was kind of worn down? So maybe he was fluffy when you first got him, but by the time that you were still in high school and he was sitting on the edge of your bed, he was kind of worn down. Think about that. Describe your favorite toy and use as many adjectives as you can. The second question I have for you is, who gave this toy to you? Where did you get this from? And And the third one is going to be mixed with that. Did you get this on a special day? Was this a birthday present? Was this a holiday gift? Was this something that you went on vacation and you were like, oh my God, I have to have this, I have to have this, and your parents bought this for you? So who gave you this toy, and did you get this on this special day? Write all of that out, and just kind of stream of consciousness writing here. There's no right way, there's no wrong way to do this. That's just your way. Just think through this, and think about this. And the last question I want you to think through is, why was this toy so important to you? So those are 4 questions that's going to help you tap into your inner child and start to really feel that joy that you felt when you were a little kid. Because when you're working through your answers, you'll find a way to go back in time, both emotionally and mentally, while reconnecting to your inner child. And I will add bonus points for those of you who feel inspired by this activity and make time to go play with your kids right afterwards, or maybe you spend some time coloring in that adult coloring book that I know you all have someplace in your house. Bonus points for you. So use today's creative activity as a time to bring back, I guess, that childlike curiosity into your world. Think about how you can move past your predictable routine and give yourself the space to open up your mind with a fresh, creative approach to what brings you happiness. And when you're going to spend time in this childlike headspace, you'll be experiencing your creative expression that not only captures your imagination, but it's going to bring that good creative energy into your content process. So now, let's take these joyful feelings that you're into with the creative activity, and let's look at how we can use this creative energy to stay consistent with our content plans. So most of my clients come to me for help because they're struggling to stay consistent with their content creation. I promise you the struggle is real, folks. You are not the only one feeling this way right now. And I get it. I totally get it. We're so busy with everything else that we need to do to run our businesses that we find ourselves without the time or the creative energy to work on developing new content. We find ourselves always in reactive mode. So what can you do to move past this place and stay consistent with publishing original content? The first thing that I always recommend in my consistency tips is to get organized. Develop and actually use a content development system to keep track of your content ideas about how you're going to write the copy, create the images, and then all the way and all the steps that you do before you actually hit that post button. There's productivity tools out there. So use the one that works for you. There's digital apps. There's product management programs like Asana or Monday.com or Trello or something like that. There's ways that you can do this on Evernote. You can even create your own system by a whole bunch of series of Google Docs that you connect together in a folder of Google Drive. Whatever works for you, and don't force yourself into a system that goes against the way you work. Because if you are a pen to paper person, all of those things that I just described, having me sign up for Trello or Monday.com, it's like, oh God, no, one more thing I have to learn, one more thing I have to do. So if you are not a person who is going to be doing anything digitally, don't try to force yourself to be a person who uses apps, because I can assure you that if you don't work that way, you're going to spend more time creating excuses about why you can't log into Trello today, why you can't do this on Monday.com, or why you can't whatever on Asana, than actually doing the content organization itself. So you want to make sure that you are using a program that works for you. If you are pen to paper type of person like I am, download a printable from Pinterest. That's going to be one of your best things that you can do. And the other thing that I can tell you about is in the last video, I talked about content batching. But with regards to consistency, let me share my process with you. Again, this is what works for me. I'm not telling you this because I'm trying to tell you this is the template. This is how you have to follow it. I always say there's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's just your way. But I like to give you ideas, and if something that I say within my ideas resonates with you, by all means grab it and make it your own and use it. So when I talked about content batching in the last video, I talked about, taking smaller pieces of each piece, like doing your copywriting one day, doing your images one day, doing, your hashtags, SEO, all of that type of thing another day. One of the things that I have found that helps me stay consistent with my content is I take things and I break it down even more. I find for me personally that if I spent a whole day working on one project, like doing all of my copy, doing all of my images, doing all of my, like workshop slides or something like that for the workshops that I do, it really drains my energy. It really takes me down. So one of the things that I find that to get more done and to stay more consistent is I take everything and break it down even smaller. So I'll give you an example here of, like, let's say my content for Instagram. So for Instagram, what I will do is I will do, in a few days in a row, as opposed to doing all of my copy, doing all of my images, doing all of my hashtag stuff, because I find that when I can start to finish, create the create the copy, create the image, create the post. And I can do 3 or 4 of those in a row like that. Because for me, that's not switching gears. For some people, switching gears is doing the images and then writing the copy. That switches gears for them. For me, I find that if I could do small batches of the entire thing, that works for me. Another example of something that I do when I'm going to share my process with you is, let's say that I am doing my workshops. So when I create my content for my workshops, I do research, and then I break the slide, and then I organize the slides, and then I do the slides. So instead of doing the research and then organizing my slides and then starting to do all of the slides, which I'm sure I could probably do all in one day, I wouldn't get anything else done that day. And so sometimes when I do those things like that, it feels like, oh my God, I didn't do anything today except this one thing. And it drains my energy, and I feel like I just am overloaded because then I'm behind on everything else. So one of the things that I found was I could take it and I would look at each step to the pieces. And again, let's use my workshop as an example. So each step of the workshop is the research. Then I organize my slides, and then I have the slides written into 4 different sections. So then one day I can do section 1 and 2, another day I'll do section 3 and 4. So I break it down into a little bit. So by the time I am done with this, and I always, kind of build up to it right before the workshop, I have all of my slides done and ready for review right before I actually teach the workshop. So it's the little things that help me breaking it down versus trying to do all of it at once. So hopefully that helps a little bit to explain some of my process and how I break things down, as with regards to, creating content and being consistent with this. And I find that when I am making things in a smaller batch, for lack of a better way of saying it, it helps me stay consistent because I can get more done in my day rather than just trying to focus on one thing at a time. So the consistency tips is actually still connected to the content batching. So both of them are actually 2 peas in a pod, so to speak, because you can't have one without the other. So that's one of the things that I definitely do when it comes to being consistent. The other thing that I make sure that I do about being consistent is to have a plan in place. Have a content plan in place, because it's easy to jump right in and start making images and writing out some copy. But if you don't have a plan in place, you don't have a clear direction, and your content just becomes really disjointed. The content plan is going to help you stay accountable. It's going to help you keep track of your marketing. It's going to help you make sure that everything is connected to each other. And then if you can look at the entire plan as a whole, like maybe the entire month or even the entire week, you can see how it's all connected to each other versus just trying to do one thing at a time and just being reactive versus them being proactive. So the creativity is a key when it comes to creating this remarkable content that you're going to use to reach your customers. And when you spend your time thinking about your content plan, thinking about how you can content batch things, thinking about staying organized and working a content process that works for you, as well as making sure that you add in these opportunities to do these creative activities, I can promise you that you will get inspiration from all of these steps, especially right after you've done that creative activity. The inspiration that you are going to get is going to be amazing. You are going to find that your inspiration is going to start flowing and flowing in all of these sources. I'm telling you, and that is exactly what creativity is all about. And I get it, because here's the thing. Most people believe that creativity with our content creation involves pulling like a completely brand new idea out of thin air. And when that doesn't happen, we feel like we're stuck and I've got a creative block and this isn't working for me. So we just don't do anything anymore and we just let it go. So the truth is, creativity is an open-ended process that consists of looking at the same existing thing that everybody else is doing and thinking about it differently. So when you take your time away from your laptop and do something creative, you will find inspiration in the most unlikely places, and you'll be able to use that inspiration to enhance your content. And you can use it along with your content plan, your content batching, and your content process to help you stay consistent with your marketing plan. So thank you so much for joining me today with this creative process. If you've enjoyed this content about creativity, I hope you'll consider subscribing to this channel. And if you're ready to dig into the deep work of developing your content marketing strategy, the link is below to subscribe to the Create Your Business program. You will get more content like I've talked about today in the video, and it's going to show up in a workbook that's going to come into your inbox every single month, and creative tools are going to show up at your front door so that you can experience creative activities yourself. And you're going to learn how to develop your content marketing plans in a new way to ensure that you never run out of content ideas again. You are magnificent, my friend, and let me be the first to say, I'm proud of you. Until next time.